Cool. So we're live. So I'm gonna give it a couple minutes to get people to tune in, and then we'll go from there.
Bet. Hey, I'm about to share it real quick. I don't know if it's about to pause me or anything like that, but I'm gonna
Yeah, go for it.
slide over. Bet. I think I got it. Yeah, good.
Cool. Couple people joining in. All right. So I just want to thank everybody for logging back in, tuning back in to FuelOrCrutch podcast. Let's talk about it. Today we got two special guests, Savannah Rainey and Parker, aka Skip.
Yes, sir.
So today I just wanted to do like basically a part one of a longer segment that I want to do to focus on HBCUs, since I'm huge on the exposure piece for it. And today we've got two individuals that are currently at HBCUs. We've got Savannah. I'll let you go ahead and give your HBCU and what you're doing there.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Savannah Rainey. I go to Howard University, and I'm a redshirt sophomore. I am majoring in communications in the concentration of television and film, and I'm minoring in African American studies. And I also play softball there.
Dope. Parker.
Yeah, so I'm Skip. I go to Alabama A&M. I am a second semester senior this spring, and I will be graduating with a degree in business entrepreneurship. So we'll be graduating in May. So, yeah.
Dope. Congrats. Super. Huge
Appreciate
congrats.
it. Thank you.
See the light at the end of the tunnel. I remember
Yeah,
that.
man. It's been a long one, but we almost there.
Cool. So I always like to do little icebreaker questions just to start it out. This should be a little fun for you guys, seeing that you guys are, I guess, somewhat rivals. SWAC or the MEAC?
Yeah, MEAC.
Yeah, I gotta say SWAC, and we got Dion now. It's SWAC going up. So.
Nah, MEAC. Hey, you saw South Carolina State though.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I think we beat South Carolina State back-to-back years. Actually, now that I think about it, in football, but I don't know if we played in basketball yet.
All right. The Battle of the Real HU or Magic City Classic?
Real HU.
You already know I'm gonna have to say Magic City. But yeah, I think A&M won it this year, right?
Here you go.
So
you jumping. You just want to talk trash.
You know.
I'm not gonna lie. I think Houston won.
We've got another MEAC supporter.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all right. Hey, I went to Alabama State, so I got to support the SWAC.
Telling you.
All right, so diving into it. If not the HBCU attend, which one would you have attended?
I think for me it would have been Jackson State, because I actually in high school they had took us to visit a couple of different HBCUs, and when we used to visit Jackson State, it was a pretty smooth visit. I was actually thinking about it at the time, so I think if I wouldn't have went to A&M, it probably would have been Jackson State.
Okay. What about you, Savannah?
I think for me, that's a really hard question, just because with me, I played competitive softball my entire life. And so HBCUs weren't one thing that was during the time of recruitment on my list for playing softball, especially like I went to the University of Wisconsin at first, and then Howard then came my way as a second opportunity to be able to play softball. So I actually like to think I think Howard is a perfect spot for me. I don't know. I really don't have a answer for that question.
Okay.
Yeah.
So both of you guys went to PWIs first, it sounds like.
Oh, really?
So a predominantly white institution. For those that don't know, that's what a PWI stands for. So you went to UW Madison. Skip, you went to Madison College. So have you seen a big difference in the two institutions?
Oh, completely. I mean, one thing for me is that's awesome that I get to see every day is playing my sport and being around girls that all look like me. One thing in my sport, like playing competitive, all like in California, the Midwest, you don't see a lot of Black girls playing softball. So that was something really huge. That's awesome to see every day. And also, and like with my major, everyone looks like me and is like trying to make it and is just grinding it out. But I think what's really cool is everyone has like an ultimate goal in the future and for society to just make a difference. And I think it's awesome for Black women especially.
Can't beat that. Skip, what you
Yeah,
got?
for me, I think it's hard to make the comparison because the two schools I went to before A&M were both junior colleges. So
Mhm.
I was at Elgin, and that was like mostly Latino.
Okay.
And that was actually interesting because going to high school in Middleton with like pretty much all white teachers and like kind of only seeing that like in school, having like most of my teachers be Latino, like that was definitely like kind of eye opening and like a good experience to have. But then quickly ended up going to Madison College. Again, I think it's kind of hard to compare because just the atmosphere of a junior college is so different. Like it doesn't really feel like a college environment, especially like Madison College, I think is getting there. But just from my experience, like I've loved going to HBCU. Um, every every experience I've had at A&M's been great. It's just hard for me to compare versus like a junior college because like it's almost like a different environment. Like you have to like go to a junior college to really like you feel me. It's hard to explain,
Yeah,
but
yeah, I totally
yeah,
understand. And I definitely wanted to make sure that we point out that, contrary to most beliefs about HBCUs, that there are only Black students that go there, that is false. Skip is living proof that
living proof.
that HBCUs do welcome all students. And so you may not see a lot at them, but hell, you won't see a lot at Edgewood either. So, Black students at Edgewood. So I just wanted to make sure that we knew that beforehand. So I did want to give you guys a chance to just kind of, share where you're from and where you grew up and kind of the dynamic of the school that you went to, because like you said, being at an HBCU, you get to see students that look like you. You get to see professors that look like you, at least for Savannah's perspective. So I just wanted to give you guys an opportunity to kind of shed light on the history of where you're from.
Yeah, so I'm from Madison, Wisconsin, born and raised. I then went to high school at Verona. I live in Fitchburg, which is a small little town right next to Verona. My experience probably was kind of the same that it was at UW-Madison as it was in high school. Pretty much all my teachers were white, except for towards the end of my junior and senior year, we started to get minority faculty members, in social services and all that, and like guidance counselors and all that, which was awesome towards the end of my school year. But I wish I would have had that more my freshman and sophomore year. I really felt like they helped the minority student body at Verona. They were able to just communicate better with us, I felt like, and also like created an easier, but I feel like homey relationship than some of the white faculty members there. I just felt like they didn't really understand us and our background of where we came from or like our understandings with everyday lives. But yeah, overall, Verona was Verona. It wasn't something, I mean, I would say it was kind of similar to Middleton with Skip, but it wasn't anything crazy. I dealt with discrimination here and there, and it was something you just had to persevere through, and it was what it was.
I mean, it builds you up.
Yeah.
Going through what you go through, dealing with adversity. I mean, it makes you bigger and stronger on the other end if you can get through it. Unfortunately, not everybody can. So yeah, Parker, go ahead and share.
Yeah, so for me, I went to Middleton, from the Madison area, grew up in Middleton. My experience coming up was like a little bit different just because, Middleton, like you said, Verona, like a lot of those schools in the area kind of have like a similar reputation. And like coming into like my freshman year of high school, I was kind of like sort of like finding out who I was and going through some things. And then shout out to my guy Antonio. Got tapped in with him like pretty early, like even before I got to high school. And my experience always was like I just had a more diverse crowd. Like I typically was around Black people more. But like I kind of struggled because it was like going to like a really white high school is like you're kind of trying to like navigate, like I care about a lot of these issues, but like a lot of my peers don't really, or like they don't seem to, talk about the same things or whatever. So I actually ended up joining Black Student Union because Antonio was running it at the time. So he kind of like noticed kind of from being around me or whatever and just like encouraged me to join. I think I started towards the end of my freshman year and I was a part of it sophomore year, junior year, senior year. And one of the things we always would do is like on spring break, we'd go on a trip. So it would just be like the whole BSU go on a trip. Sometimes it would be like just somewhere that we haven't been. Sometimes it would be like a college tour, like the one my sophomore year. So we ended up going to Mississippi, seeing a couple of HBCUs. Ended up in New Orleans, I think, at one point. So that's kind of like how I started to like go that route. And ever since then, like since those visits and just like through that time, it's kind of what led me to choosing Alabama A&M and being at an HBCU. And I feel like it was a really great decision for me in my development. And I just met a lot of great friends, a lot of great people throughout my time.
What so Savannah, did you get a chance to go on any HBCU tours when you were in high school?
I actually went to Alabama A&M. I actually had an official visit there after I was in the transfer portal. And I really liked it. Like I had I'm sorry, but that was in college. It wasn't in high school.
Right.
But I mean, I really liked and enjoyed Alabama A&M, but unfortunately in high school, I never really got the experience to visit any HBCUs when I was in high school.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I kind of like Skip. I got my my real introduction to it in high school, going on the HBCU tours. I know we toured the AUC, Atlanta University Center, where Morris Brown, Clark, Morehouse, and Spelman were at, and just being around a bunch of Black folks that had the same goal in mind, going to school to do well and have fun at the same time. It was just eye-opening because being here, a lot of times you see the students that look like you not really caring about the academic aspect and skipping, fighting, whatever's going on in school, and you just wanted to be a part of something that was working towards something. So I definitely enjoyed going to visit. And then for me, it came down to I got accepted to Central State and Alabama State. And I chose Alabama State just because if I was leaving Wisconsin, I was leaving all the weather behind. So all that Midwest weather had to go.
That's what it was for me too. Like I know, because shout out to you for helping me out with my college decision. And I don't know who all knows that, but I always make sure when I'm talking about it, like, you helped me out a lot with everything getting to A&M. But like that was a huge factor for me too. Is just like if I'm gonna get out of Wisconsin, I got to go somewhere where it's warm and I can experience like a different region of the country. Get out of the Midwest for a little bit.
So I know, Savannah, you're on an athletic scholarship, right?
Yes, correct.
So Skip, why don't you talk about, the opportunity that you took advantage of?
Yeah, for sure. So for me, like towards the end of my junior college experience, I was still playing basketball. And I kind of got to like a crossroads where like basketball was going okay, but like due to some like a lot of life circumstances that was going on at the time, I went through a lot in those first 2 years of college and just kind of had to make a decision that was best for me. And I was kind of thinking about like putting, school first. So choosing a college based on where I wanted to go to school at and then kind of like figuring out the basketball stuff after. So talking to you, obviously, like at the time, I didn't really know really how to even go about the process, but I think you had put me onto that HBCU Common App.
Yeah.
So I filled that out and heard back from a number of them like pretty quickly. And then I think when we started talking about A&M, you connected me to Darren, and then he kind of presented the transfer merit scholarship. So basically, I had to keep a GPA above, I believe it was like a 3.25 by the time I left Madison College, and I was actually able to get 2 years of tuition paid for keeping my grades up. And there's actually a lot of those. Like I know a lot of people I was in class with, like was on scholarships for different things. There's a lot of money out there and available, and I was really thankful to be able to do that, because without that, I probably wouldn't have been able to attend. Just putting basketball first and going to a junior college is like you're not really having a lot of time to work and save up money and put yourself into, whatever college you want to go to. It's either you get a scholarship somewhere for basketball, or you got to figure it out. So that kind of came along at the right time for me, but it was definitely a great opportunity.
And so anybody that's listening, whether it's a kid or whether it's a parent, take an opportunity and look at some of the scholarship opportunities that these different schools have. The one that I found with Skip was that a transfer scholarship, where as long as you finished your career at the 2-year institution that you were at with a 3.25 or better, you got 2 years free tuition. And I know other schools have different scholarship opportunities. Some have some similar. Some offer in-state tuition based on GPA. So there's a lot of money that's out there. And then there are certain institutions like Jackson State, Mississippi Valley State, and there's a couple others that have actually done away with their out-of-state tuition. It's actually cheaper right now to go to Jackson State than it is to go to UW-Whitewater. Like,
wow, that's crazy.
Like, I couldn't imagine choosing Whitewater over Jackson State right now. I mean, and arguably Jackson State is probably the most popular HBCU in the country right now because of Deion Sanders, but it's cheaper than staying at home where it's cold and snowing and wet. I think it's no brainer to me. That's just my opinion.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
So when you were at UW-Madison, Savannah, how was the food? I know you guys had meal plans.
Yeah, I mean, we had training tables, so a lot of the time we'd be eating at Camp Randall, like the stadium and stuff. It was pretty basic. None of your food that you get at HBCUs, definitely not. Like, we didn't have Soul Food Thursdays, let me tell you.
Talk about it. Speak on it.
Yeah, definitely didn't have that. Like, at Wisconsin, it was pretty basic food. Like, it was what it was. But then at Howard, I didn't really know about Soul Food Thursdays until the rest of our team would be like, guys, like, we'd be in the locker room after lift or whatever, practice. They'd be like, it's Thursday. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, they're like, Sab, like, it's Soul Food Thursday. You got to come to the calf with us or whatever. And I don't live in the dorms at Howard. I live in a house off campus that's maybe like 5 minutes away. So we don't have like dine-in dollars. So we got to like kind of cram in with the freshmen, and they'll like give us their dine-in dollars and like sign us in that way. But for like the past 2 months at Howard, our calf was closed because of the protests. So it wasn't always open. So I never really got a chance to go in there towards the end of the semester this year. But food is good. Food is definitely good. So
man, and for those students that go far away, because coming from Wisconsin, most of the HBCUs are going to be roughly 10 hours away. So you may not be able to get home on holidays like Thanksgiving. But I promise you'll still eat good. I know I
most definitely will eat good.
I definitely couldn't get back for Thanksgiving, but the calf always had food that made you feel like you was back home.
Right.
Sure.
Skip, what about Alabama A&M? Good food down there too?
Yeah, the food was definitely good down there. I was kind of mad because after I left, so I've been doing class at home since the beginning of this year. And then last year I stayed off campus. I was down in Alabama. I didn't have like a meal plan or anything. They like redid the whole calf. They like hired a chef and all this other type of stuff. So they're doing it big out there now. But it was definitely good still when I was out there. It was just the lines would be crazy because it was pretty small. But no, the food is definitely good. Like you said, like always around Thanksgiving time, like they'll do a whole like Thanksgiving meal. And like after practice, it was like super easy to go because I was with the team my first year. always easy to go and get some good food. So yeah, definitely it's a major plus.
Yeah, I remember those days like it was yesterday, just going in the cab, like you said, big stupid lines and everything.
Oh yeah.
So I got a question about just the yard in general. Like, how is it being on the yard, like in between classes? Like, I know the experience is completely different in UW Madison. I know it's different
Yeah.
in Madison College.
So
Yeah.
actually, during class time, I've only been over there once because of how COVID's been.
Uh-huh.
So the first time I was over there, like the first day of class, I think I had class at the undergrad library, which is like kitty corner to the yard. And well, I will tell you, what you will not do is you will not step on the grass. There's like a huge conspiracy theory. Like if you step on the grass, you're not going to graduate. And like for me, I'm already taking a long time to graduate because of me transferring in with credits. So I was like, when I heard that, I was like, I'm not stepping an inch close to the grass, to the yard, whatever. But it can get pretty crazy on there, especially days when it's really nice out. Everyone will be out there. You have your sororities, your frats, like everyone will be out there. And each tree is dedicated to a fraternity or a sorority. So that was really cool to see when I had first gotten there. Like I've never seen something like that. So that was really cool. But for the most part, stuff is starting like towards the end, starting to die down because of COVID again. So
Right.
yeah.
When Skip, when you were at Alabama A&M, did you get to experience some of that stuff that she talked about?
Yeah,
Like,
my whole first year was like the year leading up to before COVID. So like most of my experience comes from like that. And like for us it was always crazy. Like my first year, like we would have, they call them quad parties. So like even like at night, I think it was like the first week, like a Wednesday night or something like that. Everyone's out at the quad, like they got a DJ playing music. In between classes, they had like what they call every sunny Wednesday. So like every Wednesday when it was good weather, they'd be out there, DJs, just like it'd be a party. Like
yeah.
not in, like you're still getting your schoolwork done and all that, but like it's definitely like a lot going on at all times. Like it's never really dry unless it's like holiday season, everybody's at home. But for the
Yeah.
most part, if the weather is good, like everybody's outside, it's always something to do.
I definitely enjoyed how, like, on a random Thursday, you could come out of class and the DJ would be having music blasting and the different sororities and fraternities stepping, strolling through the yard. A lot of people just standing around, congregating, talking, and just the whole experience.
Yeah, I got a funny story about that too, because so it was like my first week there. So I knew one person. He was from Atlanta. We went to the prospect camp together for basketball. So he was the only person I knew on campus at that point. And we were like thinking of something to do. I think it was like a Friday night or something, Thursday, Friday night, but classes hadn't started yet. So we're trying to figure out what the move is. Like it's not a whole lot. Like we're figuring out. Got all dressed up, put my fit on and whatever, and we're like about to give up. Like all right, because I stayed on the, like they have up top on the hill. That's where like a lot of the sophomores and freshmen stay, and then they have like down like below the hill. That's where I was staying at. So we were gonna go to his spot up top of the hill because he had the PlayStation. So we're like, damn, like no moves, nothing. So we start walking up the hill. We get all the way up there. It's like two big parking lots in between like the freshman dorms. And when I tell you, it's like hundreds of people out there, cars pulled up, blasting the music. Like it was a party just Thursday night, like nothing to do. And like we stayed out there for like a couple hours, just chilling, talking to people, meeting people. But like stuff like that, where like I've never seen that up here, like in any of my experiences, just like people just chilling, having a good time, no type of drama, just like people having a good time chilling.
And everybody will turn around and get up to go to class the next day.
Oh, for sure.
Hey, can y'all speak to the dress, like how people get dressed up to go to class? That threw me off. It caught me off guard because we used to get throwing on sweats, go to class. If you do that, you will get talked about.
Oh my God, that was something I was completely new when I went to Howard starting this year, first year fit person. So when people were telling me, like my roommates were like, Savannah, you're gonna come to class and people are gonna be wearing heels. I'm like, whoa, like we're just getting out of lift like at 6 a.m. Like I'm about to have sweats on, like whatever. People have dresses on, heels on, I'm like, wow. I was sitting in class and I was like, I feel very out of place. Like I had leggings and like a tank top on coming from our gym after having practice. And I was like, whoa, I still haven't like taken a shower since I had practice. Like this is crazy. But dang, like I have never seen anything like it. Like even at Wisconsin, people weren't dressing like that. You would be in your basic whatever leggings, joggers. It was what it was. But I've never seen anything like it.
Yep, that was my first introduction. I went to class, threw on like some sweats just to go, and I get in the class, and I'm like, oh, they dress like they finna go to the club at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
No, it's definitely different. I know for me, I had the easy out because being with the basketball team, I'll just throw on one of our sweatsuits or whatever, and you pretty much, if you like football team, basketball team, like everybody else, like if you was a part of any of those groups, people just knew like that's what you were going to be wearing on campus. So luckily I didn't feel too like out of place or anything like that. But
So
it
you
was
got
definitely
passed.
different, especially like 8 a.m. and you got people dressed up. Can't do it.
Yeah, that's different. That's different.
So did Alabama A&M have any of those silly superstitions?
I'm trying to think. I don't know that there's any like really crazy ones that I remember. No, not that I could think of, really. I might have just not been on campus long enough because I was only really on campus for a year. So,
Yeah,
but
I remember.
nothing.
I remember at Alabama State, the first thing that they told me was like, "You see that wall right there, where all those people sitting on? That's called the stupid wall or the dummy wall. I can't remember which one. It was either stupid or dummy wall." I was like, "Well, why do they call it the stupid or dummy wall or whatever?" They was like, "Because as you go to class and come back from class and go to your next class, them same people will still be sitting on that wall, and those are the ones that don't graduate. So stay away from the dummy wall."
Dang. Dang.
And it's sadly, it was pretty true.
Oh.
So as of now, what would be your favorite experience or aspect of the HBCU experience?
I think for me, my favorite aspect of it is going to a school with everyone that looks like me. I think, especially something that I dealt with at UW, I really lacked like a foundation or like feeling accepted. And I think at Howard, like when I had my second opportunity to go play softball, but also get an amazing education at Howard, I think it's amazing to just be around people that all look like me. And especially in my sport too, when I never grew up seeing that, I think it was a really huge like shell shock to me. But I think it's what's going to help me in the future as well to become the best version of myself. Because I know everyone around me is going to push me to also be the best version of myself as well. So I think that's my favorite aspect.
Okay.
I think for me, just like kind of like in the same sense, like I tend to be pretty antisocial. Like I kind of stay to myself. But like when I got to A&M, like just the acceptance and like, I wasn't even eligible on the basketball team, so I was just like traveling and helping out, practicing from time to time. But like from day one, like all the guys on the team like treated me as if I was playing. Like everybody that I met from class that I was cool with, like I have more friends from my 1 year being on campus there than, my 2 years being at Madison College or anywhere else. Like just like the it's kind of like a family atmosphere, really. That's probably what I would say. Just like everybody that you meet, like pretty much becomes your friend. Like can't think of nobody from down there that's like, oh no, like I wasn't messing with them. So I think that's probably my favorite part is just like kind of the bond that you create by going there. Like everybody kind of looks out for each other, and it's definitely
that's a lot of what
smooth.
they say when you go off to college. Those friends that you meet and make there are the ones that'll be long lasting, and you'll be friends with forever. And for me, that's that's pretty true. A lot of my closest friends are still the guys that I went to the college with, especially the ones in the dorms freshman year. I felt like it was the trenches living on campus. Oh man. Like I know, Skip, you didn't stay on campus. Savannah, you didn't stay on campus at Howard either, but
I stayed
No.
on campus my first year.
you did. Okay.
I was in the like junior and senior dorms.
So how did you feel about, the dorm, staying on campus or the dorms? Because I enjoyed staying on campus, but I just wasn't a big fan of the dorms.
So my experience wasn't bad because the dorms I stayed in, they like just built them the year before I got there. And then I was able to kind of work out a deal where I had my own room too.
Oh wow.
So it was pretty smooth. Like we had like the little key card entry, like super nice. But like some of my friends stayed up the hill. It's a couple dorms that's like pretty notorious for being just like
Trash.
just terrible. So I can't speak on like that side of it. I know that it can be rough for like some people, but it's definitely like a lot of options though. So like I think typically the only way you really end up there is if you kind of like wait last minute or like don't really like handle what you need to handle. But it wasn't, from my experience, it wasn't bad. But I know other people probably could tell you a little bit different.
Because Alabama State, I would say it had its good dorms, it's had its mediocre dorm, then it had a couple that you like, woo, how you get in that dorm? And I stayed in one that was mediocre. It was in the middle, but it was old. It had been around long enough where I know Ricky Smiley stayed in the same dorm that I was in. So,
Damn.
I mean, and I've gone back and they've made some changes. Like the campus looks almost completely different from when I was there, as far as like the stuff that they've added. Sadly, they've taken some of the stuff away that was more like staples of the campus, like playing at the Sweatbox or at the Band-Aid. But they've added like this super big cafeteria, which ends up I see on the internet all the time, whether it be because of a party or because a celebrity has come and did like a pop-up concert or something, or just showing up and then they just rushing. So it's always a great experience. So yeah, I definitely enjoy it. I want to know though, can you guys share like a few like celebrity or famous alumni that have gone to your HBCUs?
Yeah, I can name a few. Chadwick Boseman, Taraji P. Henson, P. Diddy, Kamala Harris, obviously, Felicia Rashad, obviously she's a dean now of the fine arts. Nick Cannon, who also a lot of my teammates had classes with about 2 years ago, which was crazy. Yeah, they'd say like he'd just walk in and like sit with the students like it was no big deal. It was crazy. So that was just a few of them.
See, I should have went first because when I named mine, it's not gonna. Look, A&M a little smaller than Howard, I think. I think I don't know if you remember Robert Mathis played for the Colts, like Peyton Manning, part of their defense. Yep. Dude off American Idol, Ruben Studdard, he went to A&M.
I remember Ruben.
But I don't think it's too many other, at least maybe some older ones, but I can't really think of too many like celebrities that came out of A&M. But maybe in the future we'll see some more.
So basically, what you're saying is Howard won this round.
Yeah.
Yeah, Howard won that round.
You?
Yeah, when I was at Alabama State, I know 2 Chainz had been there, and he actually still would come and hang out on campus while we were there. He would come and hang out in the Sweatbox while we were playing basketball. Ricky Smiley went there as well, and then there's a host of other people that went there as well. But that's the other part that I found HBCUs that was dope, was just the way that celebrities come and show up and enjoy the festivities. Like when I was at Alabama State during the Magic City Classic, the bands are playing and going against each other, but as they're doing a formation, they're starting to play one of Ludacris' song, and him and 2 Chainz jump out from one of their songs and they start rapping the words right to the beat to the of the band. So like you never know what you're going to run into when you're around. Roy Jones Jr.'s sister actually was an incoming freshman when I was an incoming freshman at Alabama State. Roy Jones Jr. is moving her into the dorm like any other regular old father or uncle or brother.
Yeah, definitely. It's crazy. My first year they had Gunna performed at homecoming. They had Desi Banks doing comedy. Emmanuel Hudson from Wild 'N Out, he was doing some comedy. Like I can't even remember everybody they had that first year, but it was, like they definitely put out all the stops for it. It was like a super fun week that we had. It seemed like somebody every day on campus. But no, the Gunna concert was definitely super smooth, and they had brought out some other artists, which is crazy because like I knew it was big, like I knew Homecoming would be big, but it definitely like exceeded my expectations for sure.
Yeah, that's
And
crazy.
homecoming is different. Homecoming is different at a HBCU than it is at Michigan State or Wisconsin.
No, it definitely is. I've heard some of the stories from my roommates and my teammates, and I think 2 years ago, because we still haven't had our homecoming yet again in person, but there was a Sunday, Kanye came and did Sunday service during one of the weekends of homecoming, and it was like a crazy thing where he just popped up and was in DC, and he decided to do Sunday service on the yard, and they just sent a email out that morning saying like, oh, Sunday service on the yard presented by Kanye. And it was like the biggest thing ever. Kanye, Kim, and the kids were all there. Like, they'll show me videos of it. It was crazy. Like, you can't even walk a step. It was crazy.
Yeah, you'll never know what you're gonna get into on any given day. So we're always gonna promote and talk about the positives, but at the same time, what were some of like the negative things that you heard about going to an HBCU? Because I know there's plenty of people that if you say you're going to HBCU, got a bunch of negative stuff to say. And if there was any truth to what they said, or if that it was complete false.
Some negative things I heard and have had personally dealt with right now is sometimes some of the lack of resources that there are at HBCUs. Obviously with Howard, you did see the protests this year a lot that had to do with the housing aspect of it. Of course, I didn't have to deal with that just because I don't live on campus, but a lot of my teammates and other classmates did have to deal with that. They finally got it worked out. But one major negative thing I would hear from people after I'd made the decision to attend Howard was like, good luck with using your degree somewhere, which was totally foul. Like I still never understand why they would say that, just because, I mean, I'm going to have a Howard degree and all I see are people around me like in DC, everyone is like always HU, and like very good jobs, very prestigious jobs. So I definitely think that's one negative thing that a lot of people might say is like, good luck with your degree using that somewhere, having a professional job with that, which I don't believe is true at all. Like
if people get University of Phoenix degrees and never been to Arizona, why can't Howard or Alabama State, Alabama A&M do anything?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of people don't realize that. Like for me, I actually experienced like more white people criticizing me. Like other white people would be like, "Oh, why are you going to an HBCU?" and kind of like almost like make it like funny, which like I get it. It's like it's not every day that you see that, but like that's more like the negativity I got from it. Like just kind of like justifying like why I was there. And again, like not even to black people, but just to other white people. And like there is like some definitely you could tell like some lack of resources at times, but for the most part, like I would say, like I'm in the business school at A&M, and like they I think in the last like 2-3 years got some national accreditation. So I think what my professor told me, if I remember correctly, is like I will actually be able to make more like when I graduate because their business school has this accreditation than I would at like another school. So I think a lot of the times the negative things people have to say
it's because
are
they
either
just don't know.
they just don't know. And I think
he's not educated.
HBCUs right now, like at least the ones that I know of, like most of them are constantly improving. Like I know A&M got a new cafeteria. They're building a new basketball arena right now. Like it might be a couple years behind, but like it's definitely getting there and it's catching up like year by year. It's like continuing to improve. So it's definitely a good move if you're thinking about going to an HBCU.
And there's so many campuses that, like you said, are making improvements that people have no clue are beautiful. Like I know Tuskegee is beautiful. I've heard the improvements that they've made at North Carolina A&T are amazing. I know Howard's beautiful. The AUC is nice. Like there's just a lot of beautiful campuses that just aren't being talked about.
Yeah, definitely.
How early would you guys encourage students that have interest in colleges to start like researching and looking into it?
I would say
I personally would say that, oh, my bad. You can go.
no, you got it. You got it.
Okay. Honestly, I would say the earlier the better. I mean, there's nothing wrong with, making a list. My dad used to have me make lists of any college I was interested in, whether that was even D1, D2, D3, and of course make that list for those HBCUs and just look at the requirements or just do a little bit of background research, any of that, and go talk to guidance counselors and what your options may be with scholarships or whatever it may be. But I never think it's it's not a bad thing to start early looking at schools and finding interest in them, and so they can have interest in you as well.
For sure. I would say I'm probably uh learn from experience, learn from my experience to say do it early. Like I was heading into, I think it was like second semester before you and I, Jamal, really started like talking about it a lot. But like hypothetically, had you not been working at Madison College at the time, like I don't know where I would be as far as college goes. Like I didn't have any of that figured out. I was just kind of winging it at that point. But I definitely paid the price in terms of just like having to do everything last minute, figure out where I was gonna stay, um, like what classes I was gonna take, all type of stuff like that. So the earlier you can do that, and you can at least find out what you're interested in and where you might want to go, start putting those things in motion, the better for sure.
So when you guys made those decisions, how much played into it versus going for the sport that you wanted to, or going to making sure that they had the major you wanted?
Well, for me, just because I did suffer from a pretty major injury at Wisconsin, I knew my limitations with my sport, so I wanted to be realistic. And I did have a really good connection with the family of my head coach at Howard, with the travel ball circuit. And so with me, a lot of it had to do also with my major. And with softball, I knew softball is temporary after school. Like, there is a professional league, but to play for professional is very unlikely. And if so, like, you got to have a cannon. If you're not a pitcher that pitches, 70s, it just was very unlikely. So I wanted to be realistic, and my major was great at Howard, and just seeing the people that also graduated underneath and in the communications department was awesome. So I would say a lot of it did have to do with my major as well and the education that I was going to receive.
What
For
about
me,
you, Paul?
it was the same as far as like putting school first because I kind of chased basketball around a lot. Um, and for me, it wasn't injuries; it was more just like life circumstances got in the way. For me, my first month of college basketball, I had two family members pass away within the first 2 weeks, and then another family member pass away a couple months later. So I really struggled with that aspect, and um, it just kind of like put things in perspective for me. That I mean, I knew I wasn't gonna go to the NBA, obviously, but um, like I still had high hopes of playing like some type of college basketball. But I kind of decided to rearrange those priorities and put the school stuff first, and so that was where I made my decision for A&M because I knew they had a good business school. And the more I learned about it, the more I found out it was definitely like worth my while going there. So that's really what went into the decision for me. But the cool thing I will say about it though, like if you are somebody who's thinking about going to a HBCU, also an athlete, kind of like in between, is like there's opportunities to play. Like for me, I played 2 years of junior college, like wasn't really recruited too many places. Like there was a couple small schools I could have went to for basketball. But I went to their prospect camp I got invited to, played really well, and if not for COVID would have been, playing as a walk-on Division I basketball. So like obviously you have to be able to play at a high level to do that, just like can't happen for anybody. But the opportunities are there. Because I think they're always looking for talent. Um, and if you stay committed to it, like you don't have to necessarily choose like school over the sport. Like you can still play sports at a really high level, if you
And
put
then
in the
also
work. So
don't be afraid to enjoy intramurals.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talent in intramurals. I promise. While I was at Alabama State, we used to play against a lot of the guys on the team all the time in the sweat box and just go at it. And I promise you, I believe that if I would have grabbed 8 guys from the intramurals, we could have gone and competed against the Alabama State team, and they actually made the tournament when I was there and played Duke in the first round. So yeah, there are plenty of opportunities. It comes down to figuring out what it is that you want to do and how you want to make it happen. So once you guys finish your degree, what are your plans?
I'm hoping, well, my main goal is to become hopefully a sports broadcaster or commentator, working with like analytics with sports, or like doing media with like a sports team. So like doing like PR or like media relations.
Would you do any grad assistant work at Howard?
So the funny thing is I have so many years of eligibility. I'm only on my second year right now of eligibility. So I technically after this year have 2 more years. So hopefully next year I'm supposed to graduate with everything going good with my credits that transferred in. I would have an extra year. So I think just depending on if my coach is to want me to be a GA or something, and we're communicating about that, maybe we'll see. It's really crazy because I'm going to be in school now, and I mean Skip can relate to this, but I'm going to be in school next year for my 5th year, just trying to get my bachelor's degree, just going around in circles with the credits that transferred in. It was insane. I only had like 30 credits coming in, so it was a mess.
Hey, don't compare your journey to anybody else's journey. Your journey is yours and yours alone. I say that because it took me 6 years to get done with undergrad. I transferred from Alabama State to Huntington College because I wanted to play college basketball. But I had so many credits that didn't transfer that kind of pissed me off, and it put me behind. But I still wouldn't trade it because I got to live out a dream that I wanted to. So
right, yeah,
for sure, yeah. For me, I'm kind of into a little bit of everything. I'm an entrepreneurship business major, so like right now I'm finishing up this last semester. I'm getting paid right now to do articles for this new kind of like sports media app called Relevant. So I'm doing that. Doing some basketball training as well. Trying to kind of like tap into potentially doing that as a business rather than just kind of like a side thing. And a few other things that I have going on. So for me, my plan is just to use the knowledge that I've got from my professors, from everything at A&M and the entrepreneurship program, and just take that into living a life that is like financially free and doing things that I'm passionate about, trying to turn those things into businesses and something that I can kind of profit off of. So it's kind of not really a plan, but it's a plan for sure.
Well, you got some ideas, so that's better than nothing.
Yeah.
So one last question I kind of wanted to ask you guys. I know you guys are still young, but you guys have younger folks looking up to you, whether you're middle school and high school, because of what you're doing and what you've been able to do and accomplish. What advice would you give to younger students or student athletes or students in general? What kind of advice would you have for them about chasing dreams?
One thing I would say for student athletes is don't let your sport define you. Like, we're all people at the end of the day. But also, like, I wish I wouldn't have allowed my sport to play so much of like a life role, I guess, when I was at UW. And I think at Howard, it's allowed me to, like, I guess when being at a Power 5, like, everything was always about my sport. And I feel like at Howard, I'm allowed to also like be who I am personally, like off the field as well, I guess. So
it allows you for balance.
Yeah. And I couldn't be happier like doing that. I feel like it takes stress off the body and yourself a lot of the time, just especially with the negative aspects like that I had to deal with my experience transitioning into Howard. So I would definitely say that.
I would say for me, it's kind of like a two-parter kind of. Like I would say mainly take care of your mental. For me, like kind of how I touched on before, like I'm in year 5 of school and I've lost at least 5 people since being in college. And like battling like some really severe depression at times, like going through countless things. Like I think it's easy to try to like dive into something and like put those things to the side, but like to really take the time to get the help that you need to get. Like I'm experiencing so much more peace in the last 2 years and growth and opportunity, by actually putting myself and my mental health first. So many opportunities have come out of that for me. Whereas I felt like before I was kind of struggling to stay afloat. So I think don't confuse your dreams with like, oh, I got to work so hard, I got to do this, and I can worry about this later. My advice would be like, take care of yourself and like do what you need to do for you and heal from what you need to heal from. Because at the other side of that, like that's where the blessings are at. So that would be probably what I would tell them.
Yeah, man. Listen, people in general, there's nothing wrong with therapy. Black, white, everything under the sun. Go, if you need it, go get it. There's nothing wrong with it. Do away with the stigma that it ain't for you. It is. If you give it a chance, it'll work. Savannah, I did have one follow-up question just because I know me personally, I have young student athletes that'll hopefully be getting an opportunity to go off and play college athletics. Can you kind of share what your like day-to-day routine is as a student athlete?
Yeah, so obviously the fall and the spring are going to look different. So my sport's in the spring. So excuse me, my off season is the fall. So from about, we maybe have a week and a half to 2 weeks when we start school to transition into it just for the freshmen that are new to get acclimated. But basically what it's going to look like is obviously you have a certain amount of hours per week that you can maintain, but a normal day would be probably Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We're going to have lift, and that's usually at 6. So we're probably there at like 5:30 at the gym or getting ready to lift or whatever. So that's from 6 to 7. From there, we might be lucky to get rehab and treatment in between them before practice. So we try to have all of our practices and stuff and lift in the morning. So after that, it'll follow from individuals in the beginning, which are individual practices. I don't know if every sport does that, but for softball, we do individual practices. So that might be branched out in between your position. So for that might be like an hour to an hour and a half practice, depending on class scheduling, whatever. So we're usually done so my schedule is probably X'd out from 6 a.m. to maybe 11 on good days. And we do that probably repeatedly every week, or every day in the week. So Monday through Friday, and lift Monday, Wednesday, Friday, from 6 to 7. And then once we get into like October time, that's when we start to have full team practices. So those are crazy. We can be up to like 3 to 4 hour practices. And those are also added on the weekends as well. So we'll add like scrimmages in between there. Again, still having our lifts on Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, and also still have our individual practices as well. So that does get a little hectic in October. And then it'll go back after a certain amount of hours, transitioning from October into November, going back to our individual schedule again. So
that sounds hectic, and you didn't even add the class schedule.
Yeah, and we have class too. I forgot about that. Class too. We have class then from probably personally my classes were all later in the day. So I had some 3-hour lectures at night. Like I had a 5:30 to 8:30 class on campus. It was awful. Only met on Monday, so it wasn't that bad, but it was 3 hours of just pure.
Just sitting.
Yeah, and there were only 3 people in my class.
So you was definitely gonna be noticed if you wasn't there.
Yeah, and then so then when I get back to campus, spring will start up. So obviously with that, we'll have spring training. So in January, because obviously we can't play ball yet outside, but we'll still be on the schedule probably of Monday, Wednesday, Friday lifts, probably still 6 to 7 a.m. And then we'll probably still have individuals here and there if possible. And then just depending on, there can be some schedule mix-ups sometimes. So, and with us at Howard, we don't have an indoor facility. So we have to drive to Virginia actually. So our hitting like last year when we came because of COVID was from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Usually would end at midnight. Yeah. In Virginia. So that's
not a far drive though.
No, it's not too bad, but traffic can get crazy at night. So, but around 9 p.m., no one's really out. So that's probably a plus. But yeah, so we're probably going to have practice from 9 p.m. to probably midnight. In between that, we might have individual practices, some defense, and some dirt, even a turf. But yeah, so it's kind of up in the air sometimes in the spring, just because obviously our weather isn't like what we have here. And it's actually a lot warmer in DC too. So, and it doesn't snow the way it does here. So that's a plus. Yeah.
So you really got to be dedicated and understand the student athlete aspect of being a student athlete to be able to prioritize and manage time so you can still go to class and study to prepare yourself.
Yeah, definitely. And I think even listening to that type of schedule and seeing what we have to deal with, I do think the one important thing is like for student athletes, but even just students in general, is to just stay organized, to have a planner, like have an agenda of what you're going to do, and even have like a daily schedule of when you're going to wake up, when you're going to eat. Like there'll be times I'll go in the day without eating. And obviously like we need to replenish our bodies regardless if we're athletes or not. And we need naps too. Like there'll be times when I'm like talking to my dad or my mom, I'm like, yo, I got a dip. I need to take like a 10-minute nap before I have to get on my Zoom class or whatever it may be. But like, yeah, just staying organized and having an agenda or a schedule.
And did y'all hear that? Power naps are important. They help.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will add though too, like playing a sport, I feel like it helps you. Like I was just practicing, so I wasn't like playing in the games, but traveling and all that. Excuse me. I'm getting over this cold, my bad, y'all. But it helps like keep your schedule in order because you got to wake up at a certain time. So I got better grades when I was with the basketball team than I really do now. But I'll let you take it because I can't talk right now. But yeah, that was my little addition.
Yeah, I get it. I think what Skip was trying to say is just having like a structure. You have a structure around you, and you're around also other people that are doing the same thing as well. So they have the same ultimate goal, right? Trying to get good grades, but also trying to stay, well, with having those grades, you're staying athletically eligible. You're on track to graduate. You might be in a sorority, you might be in this club or whatever it may be. So I think just having a structure too and just staying organized.
Cool. I appreciate that. And so I also want to thank everybody that tuned in and listened and checked us out. This will be up on YouTube and on my Facebook page. I know Savannah and Parker both shared it. So if you guys got other people that you feel might benefit from listening to this, send it to them. Keep sharing it. So I appreciate you guys jumping on and having this conversation with me, and then everybody that tuned in to listen.
No doubt. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
No problem. Will you guys stay on for just a second? I'm going to end this broadcast, and then I'll talk to you guys for a quick second.
Okay,
sure.
All right. Thank you, guys.